All right, a developing story here on CBS Sports HQ. It was reported that Justin Verlander would miss the remainder of the season with an elbow injury. It has now been corrected. He will be shut down for a couple of weeks with a forearm strain. He'll be re-evaluated in a couple of weeks. Manager Dusty Baker, in his first season there in Houston, said Verlander had an MRI on Saturday, and he will be re-evaluated after that shutdown period. He would not commit to the righty missing the rest of the season. Verlander, 37 years old, pitched on opening day. There were no indications from that start that seemed that there was a problem with the elbow, but a couple days later it finds out that there was an issue, so he will in fact be shut down, according to manager Dusty Baker. Let's welcome in two of our baseball experts. David Sampson. He is a baseball expert. He's also an expert on life as well. David, we've now changed course since the report came out thinking that he was going to miss the remainder of the season, now shut down. What's your reaction here to this? All right, so having some technical difficulties here. We can't hear David. We'll bring him back in a moment. But again, let's clear this up. Justin Verlander going to be shut down. He will not miss the remainder of the season. That's as of right now. That was originally reported by the Houston Chronicle that he was going to miss the remainder of the season. The team has come out and said he'll be shut down for a couple of weeks with a forearm strain and then be re-evaluated after a couple weeks. So again, Justin Verlander shut down for the meantime with an elbow injury, a forearm strain. All right, let's welcome back CBS Sports baseball analyst, former Marlins president, host of Nothing Personal, David Sampson. David, we have changed course here. The original report saying that Justin Verlander is going to miss the remainder of the season. Now he's going to be shut down, re-evaluated in a couple of weeks. What's your reaction?
So I'm not changing course, Hakeem, and I don't think you should either. In my 18 years, I'm trying to think of the first time a pitcher had a forearm strain where we didn't have an MRI, announced that it was going to be a couple of weeks, and then a couple of weeks come, and then a couple of weeks go, and then it ends up being Tommy John. So I think it's quite likely, actually, that he won't come back. Remember, everyone ramped up so quickly this year, and we talked about this on the Q, that injuries were going to be a major problem. In addition to COVID, we said injuries were, and just today we saw the closer in Toronto, Giles, the starting pitcher in Chicago, Lopez, Verlander. We're starting to see more and more injuries, plus we had all the positive tests with the Marlins. So how deep teams are is going to depend how far they can go. But in terms of Verlander, I would be very surprised if we see him back anytime soon.
So then why delay this then if you're the Houston Astros?
Well, first of all, we don't want anyone to know that our pitcher, our ace, our Cy Young Award winner is going to be out for the year, because we're going to be on the phone and we're going to be trying to get starting pitching potentially in trades, and we don't ever want to seem desperate. So we are going to delay that announcement as long as possible. It's why when you and I spoke earlier tonight, I said something acute must have happened for them to announce so quickly he's out for the season, like a pop in the elbow. But short of that, you do it sort of like delays at an airport. First is delayed 20 minutes, then 50 minutes, then an hour and a half, and then you're in a Holiday Inn Express.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of how it goes. Justin Verlander, 37 years old, has never had to have Tommy John surgery. He's been one of the most durable starters in Major League Baseball. Did deal with some injuries in Detroit, some injury-riddled seasons, and at some point, I think a lot of us thought that he might be done. His velocity was down, but then he goes to Houston, David, and resuscitates his career, helps him win a World Series. Could this injury perhaps be pointing to the shift in focus, or the way his delivery was, or his shoulder going from Detroit to Houston?
I think the shift is that he's now 37 years old, and you can't do at 37 what you could do at 33, 32, 31, or 28. And he's been amazing. He's actually gotten better as he's gotten older, and I've never seen a player do that who's not on PEDs. So for him, it was just a matter of time, because for every pitcher Obviously, Father Time catches up to you, but there's only a certain number of pitches that every pitcher has in his right or left arm. And the Astros have pitched a ton of innings. Verlander's had long seasons because they've had so much postseason success. Garbage can or not, the reality is he pitched a lot over these years. So it was just a matter of time for all these pitchers. It's not normal, Hakeem, to take a ball and throw it 100 times at 95 miles an hour, then whip curveballs and come back and do it 5 days later. It's eventually going to lead to a hurt arm.
No, it is not normal. It is one of the most, actually, the worst thing you can do for the body is throw a ball 99 miles per hour. A doctor will tell you that, and that's why now we have Tommy John surgery, thankfully, to resuscitate these careers, and perhaps that's where we're headed with Justin Verlander. Where are the Astros headed, meantime? They do have a former ace in Zach Greinke, if you want to still call him that. He did pitch today, didn't get deep into the game. So where do they go from here, the Houston Astros?
Yeah, Greinke's not an ace. He's paid like an ace, but he pitches more like a 2 or a 3. Now he had to move up when Cole signed with the Yankees. Now he's got to move up again. And when he was an ace in Arizona, he didn't necessarily like being the center of attention, like being the day one starter. So he's going to have to take the team on his back, and they're going to have to hope that they get performance from the bullpen, which was the question mark when the season started. And then maybe you can outslug the opponents. Houston's got a very, very good lineup, maybe the third best with the Yankees and the Twins. So as I sit here and think about the Astros' chances, expanded playoffs definitely help. But at the same time, if I'm the Oakland A's, I'm thinking, you know what? Let's not go for second place. Let's win this division.
We'll see about that. That's a wait to see. Breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ as we continue to follow this story. The Astros have shut down ace Justin Verlander, the reigning AL Cy Young Award winner, with a forearm strain. Going to shut him down for a couple of weeks, and then we'll reevaluate after that period. Verlander, 37 years old, started opening day, 6 innings, gave up a couple of homers, 73 pitches. There weren't really any indications that something was wrong. It was kind of a shock to the Houston Astros. But again, Justin Verlander has been shut down. It was reported that he was going to miss the rest of the season, but right now the team is saying he will be shut down for a couple of weeks. Sounds like a Tommy John surgery from what we heard from David Sampson. Jim Bowden coming up here in a matter of moments. But that's what all signs point to, Tommy John surgery right now. Verlander tweeting, "The report that I'm currently missing the rest of the season is not accurate. There's a forearm strain. I'm hopeful that with some rest, it will heal and I'll be able to return soon. Thank you for all the well wishes." So there you have it. Justin Verlander shooting down the report of missing the rest of the season. He is one of the most durable pitchers in Major League Baseball right now. Has dealt with injuries in the past, but nothing to this extreme in terms of facing Tommy John surgery. But right now, what we know is it is a forearm strain. All right, let's welcome in CBS Sports Baseball insider Jim Bowden, former MLB Executive of the Year. Jim, your reaction here, Justin Verlander, originally thought to miss the rest of the season. The team's coming out and saying, nope, we're going to shut him down for a couple of weeks and reassess.
Yeah, I text back and forth with James Click, and obviously, you know, look, this is a situation where it's a serious enough injury with a forearm strain. The good news is the way they're reporting it is that if he has a tear in the ligament, which I would think he's got a partial tear, if he had a full tear, they'd be announcing that he needs Tommy John surgery. The fact that they're announcing this as a forearm strain tells you that what they can do now is give him a PRP injection. They can put stem cell in there and try to give it a month and see if, in fact, it can heal enough that he might be able to pitch in September and maybe October if they make the playoffs. Now, this doesn't work that often, but it does work and has worked in the past. And so that's probably the situation. They're not going to come out and tell us exactly what the MRI says, but I would think he probably has a partial tear, and they're going to call it a forearm strain because obviously that's all connected to the ligament, and that's normally what it is. But I think the other report was a little bit premature. It certainly didn't come from James Click or Dusty Baker or the medical people or the doctor of Justin Verlander. So again, you know, you have to follow the club and how they're announcing it. Obviously, it doesn't look good. Obviously, he's going to be out quite some time. But I think based on what we're hearing from the Astros and Justin Verlander directly on Twitter, I think there's still hope and possibility, and I just say a possibility that he could return in September or maybe late September.
Jim, is this more a result of him being 37 years old or a result of the ramp-up period perhaps not being long enough for Justin Verlander?
You know, it's going to be a great question that everyone's going to ask because we're going to see all kinds of injuries. And you know, Justin had been throwing and had been prepared, so it wasn't just 3 weeks to get ready for him. Yeah, he had been throwing in June and was throwing well, so I think he had enough time. But your question, I think, is a really important one. You know, we've seen a lot of injuries here the first weekend with pitchers, and, you know, you hate to get pitchers ready in 3 weeks. So, you know, those guys that had been throwing for the 3 weeks prior, I think we all feel a little bit more comfortable than some of the pitchers that haven't. But I do think the shortened spring training is going to make, like COVID-19, we're going to keep hearing stories like this over the next 10 days to start the season.
So take me inside the executive decision here. Take me inside the front office, how you're handling this from the Houston Astros standpoint now that your ace goes down and maybe you're not coming out with it that he will miss the remainder of the season. What's the discussions like going on right now when you're dealing with losing your ace for either a couple of weeks or an extended period of time?
That's a great question. The first thing you do, let's just say that there's a chance he needs Tommy John. If that's out there, then you know that not only would he miss the rest of this year, but he's going to miss all of next year anyway. Okay, so if you're going to do Tommy John, does it really matter if you do it now or November? No. Either way, you're going to miss 20 and 21. You're going to talk about 22. So now you've got a truncated season of 60 games. You got a chance to win. And basically, you look at an injury like this and you'd ask the doctors, is there a chance we can get him back on the mound pitching? Because we got a chance to win. We got a chance to be one of the 16 teams in the playoffs. And when we have pitchers like Verlander and Greinke, we can run the table. And then the doctor's going to sit there if it's not completely torn, which obviously it's not. And they're going to sit there and say, look, let's do a PRP injection, get some stem cell in there, and let's put him on rehab and let's rest the forearm. And let's try in a month to put him back on the mound and see if maybe we can get him there for a couple of months. If it doesn't work and the operation is needed, then you can do it anyway. So you have to look at the calendar and you have to look at the timing, and you've got to understand that whether he has TJ today or whether he gets it in October or November, it's not going to matter in terms of how many games he's missing. So as a front office executive, that's the case, we're going to try to figure out a way, if we can, to get him back on the mound this year with a chance to win.
Are you making phone calls at this point? Because we know the trade deadline is at the end of August. Are you making calls around the league to kind of find out, hey, who might be available?
Yeah, and look, the problem with having 16 teams in the playoffs is not a lot of teams are going to want to trade. So I'm really limited on who I can call. But I do have some teams I can call. I can call Jerry DePoto with the Mariners and ask him about Marco Gonzalez. I can call Al Avila in Detroit, and I can ask him about Matthew Boyd. I can call Mike Hill with the Marlins, who may not pick up the phone after his news today, and see if Caleb Smith is available. I can call the Giants and see if they would consider moving Johnny Cueto after his impressive opening day start. So I got 4 places or so. I can call Pittsburgh if I think Musgrove can fit in and try to reacquire him. So there's 4 or 5 places I can call. There's not a lot of options out there. And unfortunately, the price you'd have to pay prospect-wise is going to be more than what you'd want to do this time of year. But if you're the Astros, to your point, they're thin on pitching. I mean, they already lost Garrett Cole. And although they got McCullers back, I mean, you got Greinke, McCullers, you've got Urquidy, who was sidelined by COVID-19 issues. And then you've got Framber Valdez, the left-hander. You got Josh James, who's trying to learn and improve the breaking ball. He's got the fastball change. You got Peacock with shoulder problems. So, you know, you got a difficult starting rotation that you got to navigate through. So if a trade is out there that you can make, certainly you're going to consider it and at least start those discussions, yes.
All right, Jim Bowden with the very latest here. Justin Verlander being shut down because of a forearm strain will be reevaluated in a couple of weeks. Jim, thanks for the insight. Appreciate it.
All right, Keith.
Now here's a look at what Justin Verlander has accomplished in his Hall of Fame career. 2011 AL MVP, 2-time Cy Young Award winner, won last season beating out teammate Garrett Cole. And Garrett Cole no longer with the Astros, now with the Yankees. 8-time All-Star. Of course, he came over from Detroit, won a World Series with the club in his first season. He saw some increased velocity, and he's really resuscitated his career in Houston. Unfortunately, an injury going to keep him out for a while, perhaps the rest of the season, but that is not the case right now. It is a forearm strain again, shut down for a couple of weeks, and will be re-evaluated in a couple of weeks from now.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.